By the dawn of the 22nd century, BCE, nearly 1,000 years had passed since Narmer first united the two lands. But now, that legacy was crumbling. Egypt had fallen once more into division. Rival lords carved up the countryside, and the central authority all but collapsed. This era, remembered as the First Intermediate Period, was a time of famine, unrest, and invasions in the Delta. Later, Egyptian writers painted it as an age of horror. In the Apua Papyrus, they spoke of the Nile running red with blood, and of a land turned upside down. Ancient tradition speaks of a dynasty that hardly existed at all, the so-called 7th Dynasty. Later, Egyptian historians claimed that 70 kings reigned in just 70 days, each one rising and falling so quickly that it seemed the throne itself had become a revolving door of power. Out of this turmoil emerged the 8th dynasty, likely descended from the old royal line of the Old Kingdom kings. They clung to power in Memphis, seeking to preserve the legacy of the Old Kingdom. Yet their reign, though longer than their predecessors, was fragile. Within only a few decades, the dynasty collapsed under the weight of famine, rebellion, and foreign incursion. Out of the disorder rose the 9th dynasty, who abandoned Memphis and made their court at Henen-Nesut, the city the Greeks would later call Herakleopolis. Perhaps Memphis had simply become too unstable to govern from. Yet the move did little to change Egypt's fortunes. The Herakleopolitan kings, like their predecessors, relied heavily on the nomarchs, those powerful provincial lords who now ruled their districts almost like petty kings. Egypt remained fractured, its unity only a memory. The 10th dynasty followed, continuing from Herakleopolis, but they too struggled to impose their authority. For while they held the north, a rival power was rising in the south. At Thebes, the 11th dynasty proclaimed themselves the rightful heirs of Narmer's legacy. But reunification would not come swiftly. Between Herakleopolis and Thebes stretched a patchwork of loyalties, great families of Middle Egypt still siding with the kings of the north. What followed was not a single decisive clash, but a long and grinding contest as two dynasties fought to restore order to the two lands. Among the staunchest allies of the Herakleopolitan kings was Tefebi, the powerful nomarch of Asyut. He led his forces in repeated clashes with the Thebans and their allies, and for a time, it seemed as though victory might belong to Henen-Nesut. The Thebans were pressed hard, their position precarious. Yet fate had other plans. Tefebi's successors lacked his strength and skill, and as their resolve weakened, the tide of war slowly began to turn in favor of Thebes. Among the Herakleopolitan kings, none was stronger than Keti III. Determined to bring order to a shattered land, he first secured the Delta, driving out raiders and extending his grip across Lower Egypt. Then came the true test, the clash with Thebes. At Thinis, his armies met those of Intef II, and for a moment, fortune favored Keti. He triumphed in battle, and it seemed as though Egypt might be restored under Herakleopolitan rule. But the victory was fleeting. Intef II regrouped, rallied his soldiers, and struck back with force. This time, Keti's armies were broken, and his dream of restoration shattered. The Thebans surged north, retaking Thinis and pressing as far as Aphroditopolis. From then on, the balance of power tilted steadily southward. Egypt's fate lay increasingly in Theban hands. In time, Mentuhotep II rose from Thebes and marched north. Like Narmer, 1,000 years before, he captured Herakleopolis itself, ending the rule of the 10th dynasty. One by one, the provinces of Egypt bowed to his authority. At last, the two lands stood united once more. This victory mark not just the end of an age of chaos, but the beginning of a new era, the Middle Kingdom of Egypt. Yet beyond the horizon, destiny waits to test the crown anew. The story of Egypt is far from over.